In Africa, high-speed rail is moving quickly into a new phase. Unbelievable! We can now go 320 kilometers per hour through Africa thanks to high-speed rail. The train has 2 decks in addition. You should be aware that in a developed country like the United States, the fastest rail speed is just 260 kilometers per hour. Although a large high-speed rail project has also been suggested for Africa, the high-speed rail system for the whole continent is merely the beginning. They want to use high-speed rail to boost the economy of the country. This is the first high-speed rail system in Africa, just as in China. It is also the first high-speed rail in Morocco as part of the country's urban high-speed rail strategy. At 320 kilometers per hour, the high-speed train is equivalent to the Eurostar high-speed rail in Europe. Such 2-decker high-speed rail trains have never been seen, not even in China, but they are already in production. The high-speed rail coach design is also far more luxurious than any high-speed rail train in China. It will connect Casablanca and Tangier by passing through Rabat, the country's capital, 2 of Morocco's principal sites for commerce. By standard rail, it would take 5 hours to transport people from one place to another. Now, getting there just takes 2 hours. By traveling at this pace, you could go from New York to Washington in about 90 minutes, greatly relieving the transportation problems for the residents. Take this rail train for great speed. When you do, the entire train may be heard chuckling by Moroccans. It is clear how much Moroccans appreciate this difficult high-speed train. So why did Morocco go on debt to build the fastest train network in all of Africa? With 36 million citizens, Morocco has historically been one of the richest countries. The GDP of this nation is the 6th highest in all of Africa. It is understandable that they would need a loan to build the high-speed train. Nevertheless, the nation has been struggling with the global financial crisis since 2000. Due to changes in West Asia and North Africa, Morocco's economy has experienced serious issues. Morocco's economic development has hit a roadblock. In such a case, a nation's growth is in peril. So, in 2010, Morocco decided to embrace China's growth approach. If you want to be rich, you must first build roads. Despite the fact that doing so was at the time considered to be a debt trap, the Moroccan government chose to invest heavily in infrastructure in order to build out the railway and entice more foreign businesses to invest in Morocco. Instead, Morocco should invest in education in underdeveloped areas. In order to connect 43 local communities, the country plans to build 3,800 kilometers of ordinary trains and 1,500 kilometers of high-speed rail lines. The first phase of the high-speed rail project, which started in 2011, would cost $2.04 billion and span 200 kilometers. Due to a paucity of funds, Morocco decided to seek financing for the project from France, China, Saudi Arabia, and other countries. At the time, China agreed to lend money for the project and pledged to complete the railway in 5 years as part of the plan. The projected copy from France is pricey and takes a while, at least 7 years. They intend to fight tenaciously for this idea. Politicians in France have long intended to exploit this to seize control of the continent's high-speed train industry. Additionally, they state that while they were there, they wanted French to take over as the dominant language on the continent. As a consequence, France is prepared to contribute 50% of the money for the project in Morocco, with the remaining 50% coming from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Because he believes that France's railroad was constructed earlier than China's and makes use of better technology than China, Morocco's monarch decided to cede it to France. Morocco, which is now cash-strapped, has differences regarding this. Some individuals think China's growth rate is swift and the cost is low. Since China is the greatest choice to solve this issue, it should be chosen over Europe. China finished the project after completing the 3rd bid phase, which was the most difficult section. Overall, this section is 24 kilometers long, but it took China 4 years to build, while the remaining 173 kilometers took other countries 7 years to build. You might have a question about setting up your own high-speed railway. China, a country with strong infrastructure development capabilities, will need 4 years to accomplish 500 kilometers, but Morocco will only require 3 years for 27 kilometers. Additionally, it took 7 years to complete the 173 km railway under French authority. Why is it the case? The cultural gap between China and the United States is essentially the first problem. The Chinese technical team claims that China is unable to complete the project quickly. Therefore, in order to speed development, its staff are allowed to work around the clock, including on holidays. Morocco, a country in northern Africa, was formerly a colony of France and Spain. As a result, the local area has extensive legislation and labor restrictions that significantly protect local employment. When China started working on the project, just 100 Chinese workers were sent to the area. All of the other 1,300 workers were employed from inside the community. Local workers, on the other hand, are more supportive of personal freedom and rights. They won't agree to use low-cost workers to work longer hours because the Chinese will instead. Chinese employees may work whenever they want, in contrast to local laborers who are limited to 8 hours of work every day. As a result, the project cannot be finished as rapidly as China does. Second, Morocco committed to work with the Chinese engineering team to create the high-speed rail network in conformity with French railroad standards. Because the project's main investor is France. French rails were something they had never seen before. Even if there is a 0.1 discrepancy in measurement, computation, monitoring, or building, they must learn again. It has to be changed once more to take into consideration regional cultural variances. Building 27 kilometers took China 4 years. The high-speed rail plans in France are no different. 7 years were needed to complete the 173-kilometer high-speed rail. We may finally be able to understand why Europe's infrastructure development is proceeding so slowly. The process of getting a request approved first takes a long. Second, more people are participating in environmental protests. Thirdly, they emphasize the rights and freedoms of the person more. Any engineering efficiency will be slowed down by the junction of these factors. Despite the project's incredibly slow progress, it was still completed. In contrast to the Indian Railway, which has only built 10 kilometers after 5 years, the Moroccan officials are quite pleased of the railway because it is now complete. They have also seen how quickly China is moving forward with this undertaking. Moroccan authorities are amazed by the Chinese engineering team's accomplishments and astonished by China's high productivity and serious manner. The completed railroad stunned everyone in Africa and symbolized the expansion of the continent. Only the ocean separated Morocco from Europe in the past. While high-speed rail was already a popular mode of transportation in Europe, Morocco's subway system developed much more slowly than it did on that continent. Morocco has limited access to modern railroads and buses. Morocco will continue to decline if it doesn't reform. There is now one high-speed rail system in operation, and others are soon to follow. Morocco will build more than 1,500 kilometers of subways and upgrade and rebuild 3,000 kilometers of domestic lines. Where the remaining projects will be built, in China or Europe, remains a mystery. But after Indonesia demonstrated to the world the strength and speed of China's high-speed rail during the G20, Morocco also legally implemented a visa-free policy for Chinese people visiting Morocco. It is obvious that China still has the opportunity to work on the 3 further railroad construction projects in Morocco. It is predicted that if Morocco and China create a joint venture in the future, it would be able to build 1,500 km of high-speed rail by 2035. At that time, Morocco's economy is expected to function better than that of other African countries, and it will also surpass them in terms of transportation development. Share your opinion in comments. Also, click on this video to watch about another shocking project.